Hi, I'm Christian Guzman, and I approve of the Board Shorts and Banter podcast.
Right. Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Beautiful. Right. We literally just started the podcast and we've had to reset it because my dinosaur internet just can't hack it, boys. But anyway, everyone, welcome to the first episode of the year. Josh, how are we? Lewis, how are we?
Very good, mate.
Very good, thank you, my man.
It's good to see that
anyway,
Lewis got the memo.
Mate, Lewis is more tanned than you.
Hey boys, I've got the sponsor on.
Hey, Lewis, what code can they use, mate?
Is it TS? T Stockton, something like that?
No, it's BSB 15% off. January launch, get on it, people. It's nice stuff, isn't it, Lewis?
It's quality, mate. Yeah, it's very good. I remember, I think I got some from the first drop, obviously because I used to coach Dan, and I was like, you know what, this is actually real good stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not sponsored, by the way, so this is not a plug.
What was it? Mate, Dan as well. If anyone doesn't know, Dan runs and owns All In. Mate, he's like an incredible men's physique competitor as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, he won the junior UKDFBA, didn't he, in 2021? And then I've coached him on and off probably for the last 18 months or so. He's literally just joined back now. But yeah, the potential there is crazy. Really.
He's just too busy now. He's too much of a hustler, you know.
Yeah.
He's all into the business side, isn't he?
Hey.
BSB 15.
But anyway, people, so this is Lewis, my coach. And mate, just give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself, because I know a lot of I say a lot has changed for you the past year. It kind of hasn't, but it kind of has. So just give a bit of an introduction of yourself, mate.
Okay, mate. So where do I start? In terms of, obviously, competitive side, competed back in 2021 with the UKDFBA in the novice class. Got myself a British title there. Since then, end of 2021, jumped over to the dark side, went assisted. Yeah, I know. Blasphemy.
Josh
Ruined my day. I always hoped you were natty.
I'm sorry to disappoint, mate. Yeah, jumped over to the dark side end of 2021. Since then, competed. I was going to say this year, but it's actually last year now, isn't it? July 29th. Competed in the Two Bros NPC. I think it was the Amplified Classic. And the heavyweights, got myself third there in that class against two ridiculous bodybuilders as well. Obviously, I had my coaching brand Future Physiques, which is what Tom mainly competed under last year. And then I think it was the end of September, then joined ProCoach, and now coaching under the ProCoach brand.
Pretty mental.
Very, very exciting.
Yeah.
What was So, I mean, Josh, do you have any specific questions for Lewis? Because obviously I know quite a bit about Lewis.
Yeah. I have got loads. I was thinking earlier, like, of everyone in bodybuilding that I've had like little bits to do with, I've not had like any one-on-one time with you or like any like long conversations. And obviously I look at you and I like, you are a bodybuilder through and through. You're like Jack Eagles, you know, cut him open and it's bloody dumbbells and barbells to the core. So yeah, I suppose my first question is, how did you get into bodybuilding, and what kind of like, what was your introduction to it?
So when people ask me that, I never really know where to start, mate, because my dad himself was a bodybuilder and I literally grew up in the gym. Like, my dad used to run gyms, and he was a bodybuilder himself. So I've literally, you know, when you go into a gym and there's that little kid kind of running around, you know, behind the desk, running around the gym floor, that was me. So I've literally always been involved in the gym, always been involved in bodybuilding. But to be honest, I didn't actually want to necessarily participate in bodybuilding probably until I was 22, 23. And I obviously competed at 24. But before that, I trained since I was probably 14, 15 years old. I've always been involved in like competitive sport. So it's almost like once that kind of fizzled out for me, that focus literally just then went towards bodybuilding. And yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. Obviously, having that influence of my dad and being around the gyms, all that kind of stuff, like he definitely helped and gave me that kind of understanding of what bodybuilding is. Especially more so, like you said, Josh, like you cut me open, and it's kind of like that old school, bodybuilding through and through, and that's what I was like brought up around, and that's like my understanding of kind of what bodybuilding is.
That's awesome. That is properly awesome. I could guess that it would be something like that, but obviously I've no idea. Were your dad any good at bodybuilding, or did he just kind of,
Yeah,
just do
no,
a few shows?
he was a good bodybuilder. Obviously back then he competed as a heavyweight, but there was no heavyweight and super heavyweight. It was just over 90 kilos. It's just like an open class basically. And he was like in that class. He was like, I think he was on stage about 95, 96 kilos. Competed against Eddie Abu, the famous
Oh yeah,
famous on TikTok. Yeah. Obviously he was a very good pro back in the day. But back then it was literally just one pro card per year. So yeah, he was good, mate. I think the best that he came was third in the British finals in the heavyweight
That's
class, which back then was pretty good.
if that was like nowadays, he'd be winning a pro card, and
For
yeah,
sure. No, for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Do you remember like your dad competing a lot, or was
So
like
the last year he competed was 1996, and that was the year that I was born. So I
yeah,
never actually got to see him compete.
right, got you, yeah,
there's
because
still time.
that would have been
Still time.
it'd be such a weird perspective. Like, as you know, like you obviously know what goes on during a prep, like, but going through that as a kid, like seeing your parent prep for like a show, that'd be such a weird experience,
Yeah, it would. But then saying that, like, my dad literally lived his life like he was on prep. That old school kind of bodybuilding mentality where the food is just still the same every day. It's chicken, it's veg, it's potatoes, fish, rice, and that's like, again, as I said, that's what my understanding of bodybuilding is, and that's where that's come from.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, did it affect your nutrition when you was a kid, do you reckon? Did he like feed you chicken and rice?
Yeah, 100%. Because obviously, like, I lived in separate houses, so obviously I had my mom's house and then I had my dad's house. My
Yeah.
mom's house, it would be like, like chips, sausages, baked beans, all that kind of stuff. And I'd go to my dad's and it'd be like chicken and pasta, chicken and rice, chicken and steak.
That's cool. I've always thought that, like, when I have kids, I'm like, what am I going to feed them? It's like, well, surely I'm just going to feed them like kind of the same kind of stuff I eat, but I don't know if they'll be happy with that, chicken and rice. But there we go.
I think they'd be buzzing with it. Whey protein shakes for breakfast and
Easy,
all
mate.
the rest of it. Yeah.
He actually, my dad actually used to give me shakes to take to school to have like at lunchtime or break time.
I seriously rate it.
Yeah.
It's paid off. It's paid off. Let's be honest.
Yes. He even used to do this thing, right? He used to give me like a yogurt, like a muller, like as like a natural yogurt after my dinner. And he only told me this a few years ago. He said he always used to put like a big spoonful of like omega-3 oil in it and mix it in, and then give it to me, not tell me.
That's amazing. What a guy.
That's fucking class. But no, I think that's one of the main reasons why I probably like came to you as like for you to be my coach as well, is just because I've always been into like bodybuilding, obviously, and like developing my physique, but I've never like actually been a bodybuilder, if you know what I'm trying to say, until like the last like 4 years, I would say. Always trained hard, built a good quality physique, but like the reason why I think I chose to work with you is just because I could tell, mate, like you were just a fucking bodybuilder, and that's all you like, what you loved, and it's all you lived and breathed. And I just needed that, coming from a background where I haven't had any friends that were into bodybuilding. I haven't been brought up around anyone that was into it. So I just could like tell that from you, just for like your training and whatnot. Like if anyone hasn't seen like Lewis's training on Instagram, it's fucking nuts. Like especially some of like the leg work that you put in, man, is mental. Like, what would you say has been like the the main thing that has because again, like you said, how long would you say you've been actual bodybuilding for?
I would say, in terms of the level I'm doing it now, probably 4 or 5 years.
And that's not a long time, really, is it?
But before that, it was never a case of. It was more of a case of I would still do what I was doing now, but I would do it 5 days a week, 6 days a week.
Mm.
Whereas now it's kind of day in, day out. I'd have that time before that where, I would go out with my friends or go out with my mates. But then as soon as that kind of, a day or two passed, I would be straight back onto plan like I kind of am now.
Yeah. And
So
what
it's
would
never
you,
too far away, really.
yeah, what would you say is like, because I find it hard for myself, I find it hard to pinpoint like the time where I actually like leveled up my training, or where I managed to really grasp the concept of like hard training that's going to, build like an elite level physique. I think it's just for me, it's been like a very, very slow, gradual thing. But what would you say for you was like the main catalyst that really like propelled your training forward?
So I would say I went to uni when I was, so I obviously left school when I was 18. I took a year out. I went to uni when I was 19. I had 2.5 years at uni where I didn't really enjoy myself. I wasn't really enjoying like my life in general. I actually dropped out of uni, came home, and I was at a point where I was thinking, I need something. I need something to put my energy into. I need something to really focus on and really kind of dig my teeth into, because I was a little bit lost in terms of what I wanted to do with my life, and I wasn't really doing much. So it got to a point, I think I was 22, came home from uni, and that was really when the penny dropped, and I kind of flicked that switch to be really kind of all in to my bodybuilding. And obviously, I know Tom, you mentioned about like my training and stuff. It was a case of like I just wanted to be the guy in the gym that trained the hardest. Like that was my goal. It was never necessarily to be the biggest, the strongest, have the best physique. It was to be the guy in the gym that trained the hardest, because I saw that as like my way to get to where I wanted to be, and that's when the penny kind of dropped. So I'd say that's really since I've been kind of all in to bodybuilding. It was the last kind of 4 to 5 years or so.
So it's kind of like that catalyst was kind of like it's this or kind of nothing, kind of just that like sink or swim,
I mean,
feeling, I
to go a
guess.
bit deeper, like when I left uni, I had like a relationship breakdown, and I was like, I just need something. Like I need something to, just put everything into, put my energy into, and it was bodybuilding, mate. So yeah, here we are.
Fuck that bitch. I'm just gonna get jacked.
Exactly.
Literally, yeah. I love it. That's class.
And then speaking of relationships, you are obviously with Ella, who is a fellow MBW sponsored athlete. Do you reckon being in a relationship with someone that's in bodybuilding as well, like, helps you be more of an athlete, or does it have like, I don't know, like its negative effects? Like you're so like your life being revolved around training. Does it, does it have any?
No, I would say it's definitely a positive, like 100%. I've been in relationships before where I've tried to be like 100% all in to what I wanted to do, and it's quite difficult, like because it's such a consuming sport. It's 24/7, 365 days a year, especially when you have like a certain mindset. So I think having that person that understands why you're doing what you're doing and why it's important is it is a game changer, and it does make things a lot smoother, a lot easier for me, 100%, especially with prep. Obviously I prepped this year where Ella didn't prep. Our first preps were together in 2021 where we prepped together. Then this year obviously I prepped myself. Ella wasn't on prep, and I think without her understanding what it's like to go through a prep, especially those last few weeks, it would make it quite hard, I think, unless you had someone that was very, very understanding.
What was your worst experience on prep? Not this time. Your first one with Ella.
Oh my Lord. Well, first of all, obviously, the depths to it, Tom. Like it was absolutely brutal, like beyond belief, like brutal. I think the lowest we got to was like 1100 calories, like all directly from protein, no trace fat, no carb,
Oh, that. Oof.
80 minutes cardio a day, 40 morning, 40 evening, obviously training, weighted steps as well on top of that. Yeah, it was absolutely savage.
It's not bodybuilding. It's not bodybuilding, mate. It's body torture.
It was torture. Yeah, it literally was torture. That was absolutely brutal. It made this prep this year just seem like a breeze, though. Like it's kind of set me up because I'm like, no prep can ever be as hard as that. Surely,
Yeah.
you know.
What's
Why-
is it?
what-
Is
Carry
it
on, Josh, carry
easier
on.
to prep on gear then, as opposed to naturally, or would you say it's just because you did so much on that first prep, like anything after that is easy?
I would say prepping with assistance is easier, like from a physical standpoint. Of course, like once you get to a certain level of body fat, you're going to feel like shit no matter what.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. But I think with that additional support, like you don't hate your training as much because you don't get as weak. You know, you don't drop off as much performance. Obviously, you have more tools in the toolbox. It's not just the calorie deficit. You have other kind of supplements you can use to help you get to, you know, the condition you want to get to. But I would say the difference with the assisted prep compared to the natural prep, for me, the assisted prep was a little bit more of an emotional roller coaster because, you know, you have hormones that are out of whack, things that are, you know, heightened, highs are high, lows are low. Whereas on the natural side of things, everything was just kind
Chill.
of like flatlined. Like
Yeah.
you just zombified the whole time. Like you don't really feel anything. But with the assisted side of preps, you feel a lot. Like you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. I would say that's what the main difference was for me.
Interesting.
So what would you say, like talking on like that kind of like the main difference between like a natural prep and an assisted prep? What about like
Mhm.
off season? Like what would you say like the main differences are between off season that you've noticed as well now?
So obviously, once you get to the assisted side of things, your pushes with body weight and you know where you hold at maintenance, where you kind of bring body weight back down, those are all almost always correlated with your cycle. And your cycle is obviously going to be a certain length of time. It's going to be 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks. So, you know, you may lay out a timeline for a whole year where your pushes up with body weight are correlated with your kind of pushes with your cycle. And then when that cycle comes back down, that's where you're probably not going to push body weight. You're going to hold where you are, or you're going to bring things back down slightly. Whereas obviously on the natural side of things, generally things are just a lot more linear, a lot more consistent. You're not kind of pushing for 12, 16 weeks because you're not going to get anything out of that as a natural. You know, everything's kind of staying in that surplus for as long as you can. It's very consistent. Whereas obviously in the assisted side of things, it's up and down. Things are like, you know, almost structured to, you know, where your cycle is, where your body weight will be at that point and all that kind of stuff. And I think as well from a performance standpoint, what surprised me the most actually when I came from the natural side to the assisted side is because your performance progresses so quickly in the off season, you get so strong so quickly. I've actually had to take more time off training when I've been assisted than when I've been natural, because
Crazy.
obviously, you know, you think when you go to the assisted side of things, like your recovery is so good, it's heightened. Yes, muscular recovery is very good, but your nervous system is still the same nervous system and it still only handles so much. So I've actually had to take a step back from training more often now being assisted than when I was natural.
That's mental. That's
Yeah,
It
like
just
a
makes
fun one.
complete sense.
Yeah.
because obviously you're a strong dude anyway. Like even like naturally, you're very very strong. Would you say you've had like any like during like the initial maybe first few months of when you jumped over to the dark side? Would you say you had any issues of like joints or like tendons or connective tissues? Because I know that's quite like a common thing as well.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely starting to catch up with me now, more so than before. And it's just that obviously it's just wear and tear, and muscularly you get stronger quicker, which means obviously tendons and connective tissues, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have as much time to catch up with that. And I think to kind of see the negatives from that, it's just a case of doing it over and over again for a certain amount of time. Like for example, my knees, my forearms, my shoulders, they are starting to get sore, and it does make you think like, is true progressive overload for every single set you do within every single session, is that going to give you the longevity that you actually want, in this sport? It could just kind of make you think about different ways to approach things, because you only get a certain amount of tendons. Once they go, they're gone, and it's very hard to get them back. And I think it's made me question or maybe look at things slightly differently within my training, for sure.
Yeah. Have you had any major injuries like in your bodybuilding career?
In my bodybuilding career, not so much. But prior to that, when I used to play a lot of rugby, like I have for sure. I've had surgery on this left shoulder, fractured pelvis, 2 grade 2 tears to my hamstrings, fractured collarbone, and those are all like before I came into bodybuilding. But since then, actually in bodybuilding, I've had very, very little injuries, to be honest.
Yeah. Bloody hell. I've not had many prior to bodybuilding. I had loads. I've done my ACL twice. I've just had a really good time with it. Broke my arm a couple of times. I think from what I've seen from people that train at Ultraflex and what have you, once you get that first injury bodybuilding, you end up picking up 2 or 3 very, very easily. So yeah, it's probably a very smart move that you try and avoid injury as much as possible, and obviously utilize. What's Tom doing? Utilize all different progressive overload methods.
Yeah, I think as well, like once you have one injury come in, it's very easy to then let that snowball, because then you're compensating like with movements towards that injury. And I think that's why one injury can often lead on to another and another and another. I think it's something you've just got to be careful with, for sure.
Lewis, I got a question for you.
Okay, go for it, mate.
What's more important, training intensity or accuracy?
For me, effort will always trump everything. For me, so I think you can have the best training program in the world with the best kit in the world, but if you're not applying intensity, for me, someone who's applying true intensity with just a barbell and a dumbbell will probably, obviously depending on the genetic potential and all that kind of stuff, would probably get more from that, in my opinion. It's a difficult one. And I do think they do equate to almost 2 different looking physiques as well, in a way. I think the type of tissue and the type of physique would look different. Yeah. But yeah, for me, effort would always trump everything, in my opinion.
Good answer. We can be friends. This is good.
Good.
Right, I got another question as well. It's a bit of an not off topic, but a bit of a different one. Biggest gym pet peeves. This is my question, by the way, the important stuff.
Okay. I would definitely say training in more than a group of 3 drives me mental.
Yeah.
So
you're in the group of 3, or there's other people that are doing that in the gym?
There's other people that sometimes you get these lads come in, like students or young lads will come in and they're training in like a group of 5 all stood around one bench or stood around one machine. And it's like, come on, man. Like, this isn't like a youth club kind of thing. Like, I have anyone can come and train. I'd have no issues with that at all. But, train. Don't just come here to for kind of meet with your mates, like a social occasion kind of thing. Apart from that, I can't really think of too many. Like, I'm very much just let people get on with what they're doing in the gym. I'm like, it's nothing to do with me. As long as you're not bothering me, you can do whatever you want, kind of thing.
What about you, Josh? What's your biggest pet peeve in the gym? I can imagine you got loads.
I hate it when people put like heavy plates on like next to like say a 5 or a 10. They've
Okay,
got
we can
20
agree
kilo
on that one.
plates on the outside of it.
Yeah.
It's
We can
just
agree on that
dickhead
one.
move.
Yeah.
Like, now you got to bloody pinch it, hold it up, and then it winds me up. That is a pet peeve. What's yours, Tom?
I'll probably just say people just using their phones on kit that you're wanting to use, and they've been on there like just way too long. Like, it's clear to see they're just not even there in the gym, like training. They're just using their phone, just sat down, like on the leg extension or something like that. So I'd probably say that. I don't know what else really. Again, like I'm pretty like easygoing. Just let people crack on. As long as it doesn't really affect my workout, then whatever.
To be fair, there is one that sprung to mind. I think it's something that we've definitely seen like a lot more common recently, especially since people have a lot more kind of a scientific approach to training, and it's those guys that kind of potentially look down on the other guys that are in there just training hard, just doing their own thing. They're not doing things optimally or not doing things properly. I'm like, just let them do what they want to do. Just let them train. There's no need to look down on anyone. Like, in terms, especially with the way someone's training. Like, someone's training, like they're in here doing something positive. Just let them crack on.
Yeah, agreed. I have a question, right? But it's more of a talk about it as much as you want. This year, you have obviously had a lot of success with your own clients. Tom's done amazing. You had what was he called, Mr. D-Lock? Was he called David?
David,
Yeah.
yeah.
You've had some pretty incredible results. What is it that's kind of put your guys above, I would say, the majority of the pack when it comes to competing?
I think a lot of it is down to being able to say no to when people want to compete and they're not ready, and only putting guys on stage that are truly ready to be competitive. I think that's, as a coach, that's going to be one of your biggest assets, is your ability to say no to clients that you don't feel like are quite at the level yet that they need to be competitive on those kind of big stages, for sure.
Yeah, I've had this conversation so many times over the past couple of months. You say no to someone doesn't necessarily mean like no ever. It's just like not yet. Don't bother wasting your time. Don't waste my time. Don't waste your money. Like, yeah, that.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to
Isn't it?
ask the client, what do you want to get out of this? Like, what do you want to achieve? Do you just want to step on stage because so you can say you've stepped on stage and got that experience, or do you actually want to be competitive and have a competitive season? And I'd say 90% of the time is always the second one. They want to be competitive. They want to, be in shows, and be looking for those kind of top 3 placings. So I think your biggest asset as a coach is say no. Building muscle takes time, and sometimes you just have to give it time. Simple as that, really.
So what would you guys then say to someone that come to you and obviously they've clearly stated, like, that they're not ready, right? And they could really benefit with some time off and in the oven cooking, essentially. But what if they said, look, I really want to compete, in terms of like winning, like that is what it is. Just let it fall where it falls. I just want to get my feet wet. I don't want to gain that experience.
It's a difficult one because your client's happiness matters at the same time as your ability to say no as a coach. I would always try and convince them that a different year would be better, or another year would be better for you. And I would also say that ask for the reasons why they want to compete. I would say that if that is your reason to compete, you just want to kind of get on stage, get your feet wet, you're probably not in love with training. You're probably not in love with the process itself. And I think to be able to compete, that has to be there. So if that's in place, they do genuinely love training. They do genuinely love the process of bodybuilding. They already kind of live that. Then, potentially you can have a look at that. Just make sure they're realistic with their expectations. I think that's a big one. But if that isn't there, and they're not necessarily, you know, in love with training, in love with the process, they haven't got that routine locked in where they're being consistent, then I personally would say, you know, let's try and move that to a next year, or I probably won't be the coach for you this year.
Because if you're going into prep and you're not like all in, no pun intended, then
Yes,
you know, you're quickly gonna not enjoy it even more. You know, and like I feel like the worst thing to happen to someone is for them to be on the right path and for them to be progressing and, you know, making good improvements to their physique and falling in love with the process, to prep too early, go through that experience, which is fucking hard, and then for it to completely, you know, make them fall out of love with it, and then like maybe even like cut their own journey short or never compete ever again because they just assume that they're never going to be able to enjoy it. Whereas if they had just spent a bit more time, you know, really getting everything nailed down, they could have had a successful prep and they could have seen what it's truly like to, you know, reap the benefits of that, man. So it's definitely like a responsibility as a coach as well to make sure that they are aware of that and that you don't put someone in too early and make them fucking fall out of love with it.
I think as well, like a massive thing is making sure your life outside of bodybuilding is there to, you know, be able to support that. I've got, obviously, I think, you know, you boys know Bailey, my client Bailey. He will listen to this. I know he will.
Yeah.
Hi, Bailey.
Hey, Bailey. He's just got a new job, working, I think working at like an airport or something like that. And it's like night shifts, there's day shifts, all that kind of stuff. And we're potentially looking at competing this year, 2024. But realistically, you know, if we're kind of adjusting to that schedule, you know, it's took us a little while to get there. You know, life isn't necessarily in that position where, you know, you are comfortable, everything is set in that routine, you know exactly what's happening every single day. I think if that's not there, again, this is what, you know, I was talking to Bailey about, we should probably leave it another year, you know, allow you to kind of settle into that routine, settle into your work, put that first, prioritize that. Then once you're comfortable with that and you have everything set up outside of, you know, bodybuilding, then we can look to compete. And I think that's something that's so underrated. You know, the more stable your life is financially, you know, relationship wise, you know, your living situation, environment, all that kind of stuff, that needs to align really before you look to go on stage.
Definitely.
100%. 100%. Josh, do we have any questions from IG? I know you put up a story box. I did put mine up a little bit late this morning.
I don't think I have any. Lewis,
really?
The people don't find you interesting, mate, and no one listens to the podcast. It's the harsh reality of the situation.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
no
good
start
for at all. You're a bunch of lazy sods.
Talking about Bailey, he's literally just putting a question, I think. Bailey, this makes no sense, mate. Your dog is probably stronger. Is there some reference there that I'm missing?
Is that an in-joke?
Is that an in-joke? Lewis,
there.
is this between you and Bailey? Like, are we being left out of this? Is Bailey just a certified weirdo? I think he is.
Might be between Bailey and my dog. I don't know. It's not me.
What dog have you got, Lewis?
I don't even know how to explain him, mate.
He's a legend. He's just a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Is he an XL bully?
No, but he can be taken for one. He's a big boy.
Oh.
He's a Staffy crossed with a Ridgeback.
Oh, a Rhodesian Ridgeback?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I love them dogs.
Yeah.
That is probably quite a beast.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He's just like a compact ball of like muscle, mate. He's just solid.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Lewis, really. Yeah, just like dense, just
they do say
built, you know.
People, the owners resemble the dogs. That's why you've got a little skinny one, Tom. No, I'm joking, mate. You need to get a Rhodesian Ridgeback.
You'd be like a Labrador, wouldn't you? Just all cuddly and cute and just a big softy, 100%. Wouldn't you?
Just eat all the time. Have you seen Rob Taylor, Barnsley Pitbull?
Yes, yeah.
Have you seen his dog? His dogs literally look exactly like him. It's brilliant.
We've got a question from Mr. Hugh Thompson, the cartoon man. Funniest, this is obviously for Lewis, Funniest moment of the season. That's quite broad, Hugh.
Yeah.
It's been a very big season, Hugh, as well.
There's lots of funny moments to remember, Hugh. I reckon the funniest moment was when I beat him in the overall.
That
Yeah,
was
I
funny.
reckon.
Yeah.
That was good. That was good.
Joking.
Yeah. The
Oh,
first show, that was the Northerns, wasn't it?
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah,
funny moment there.
that was funny. That was funny.
When Tom cried, that was really, really funny.
Fuck off. Mate, it was emotional, right?
Crying on a
Josh,
stage.
you're just looking out. You're just like pointing, oh, look at him. Oh, so cute. Look at him crying. It's first little win.
Yeah. He's won a regional qualifier.
Get out of here, mate. Get out of here.
Dear.
You wait, right? You wait until we get on that WMBF stage together, mate. Make you
bro.
cry.
Yeah. You will. You will.
He says with utmost sincerity.
Oh. You know I love you, Tom.
Another question, Lewis. What was your biggest lesson as a coach in 2023?
Ooh, probably to be able to manage emotions better in terms of with my clients. It just gets so invested, like so emotionally invested with my clients, like tenfold more than I do with my own like competitive kind of career in bodybuilding. I mean, when I step on stage, there's no nerves. Like I'm just like, yeah, just pose, go on stage, pose, walk off, kind of thing. It's nice and easy. But with my clients, it's like, yeah, it's just massive. Like, so it takes so much out of me emotionally, and I think like it's a strength, but it's something that I need to kind of, rein in a little bit because it drains you. It really does drain you.
I guess it's like your first few times on stage, though. Like as an athlete, you're going to be nervous, and then when you've got like a lot of athletes getting on stage in your first big like competitive season as a coach, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is for sure. And obviously, I'm like close with all you boys that competed this year, and like I think when you're closer with someone, it kind of makes it worse because like you want them to do well so badly, like you really care, like you're like, oh, come on, like I want to deliver for this guy.
I get you completely.
Yeah.
This you can remember when D-Lock won his pro card?
Yeah.
I had Tam obviously doing his first pro show on the same day, and I wanted him to do I wanted him to smash it, win it, and I was convinced that he was going to. He was in with a chance of doing it, and when he came fourth, I was honestly heartbroken. But it upset me for like weeks, and I feel like I ended up taking that upset into the rest of my other clients' preps. I was like, yeah, you're not fucking getting away with anything here, and you just push them to like, the nth degree.
Yeah, 100%. I think with yours, Tom, as well, like the second place we got at the finals, I was thinking about that for every day for probably like 2 or 3 weeks. Like legit.
Really?
Yeah.
Second place at the finals, mate.
Yeah.
You just think constantly like, oh, what could have been? What could we have done differently? And like the impact it would have obviously on your own coaching brand, and then obviously your clients' lives, winning something like that. It's big. It's life changing. Potentially.
Yes. Sorry, Lewis, mate. Let you down, mate. You would have, the season if I just worked a little bit harder for that finals, mate. It's all that domino. It's the 4 days of back-to-back dominoes that I had in peak week, mate. I'm sorry. I own up.
I've actually just suddenly got like 30 more questions. Lewis, how do you feel about how much Tom goes off plan? Like when he eats, he just doesn't stop eating.
I know. He's a machine, mate. I remember post after the PCA show, the Fat Hippo.
Oh God. Oh God.
Exposed.
Right. No, this is the thing, right? When I'm on plan, I'm on plan. When I have when the floodgates open and someone's like, "Yeah, you can enjoy something," I will enjoy myself. All right. But then the next day, bang, straight back on plan. It's out of my system. go time. But yeah, fat hippo is disgusting, mate. I was a horrible person that night.
Yeah, it was good though. It was good.
I was very, very good. Josh, have you been to the fat hippo?
Mate, we've got a fat hippo in Sheffield. It's
Nice.
shit hot, and it's in this like, it's I don't know. It's got like different like eating places all under one roof. It's like a food hall. It's bloody mint. So yeah, if you boys ever come up to Sheffield, I'll tell you where it is. It's fucking mint.
I'll have to check it out, mate. Lewis. So
Yes, mate.
this is for me more than anything. What do you think I could have done better as an athlete in my last prep?
I think definitely what you struggle with is obviously we have the mindset on prep of we just crack on. We just crack on. You know, no matter what, no matter how you're feeling, we crack on. But I think obviously when we get down to the nitty-gritty side of prep, those last few weeks where we are really lean and we obviously have that time in between shows, I think maybe just understanding how fatigued we actually are and where that line is, where we do need to give feedback regarding, you know, those biomarkers really being off. I think that's something that we could have done instead of almost having that mentality where we just kind of crack on no matter how we're feeling. You know, not necessarily speak up if we really are down, like in the trenches kind of thing. I think that's also, you know, something that I've learned from my side of coaching is, you know, especially with your physique and how like you respond to being fatigued in terms of, you know, the water retention we get. That's something that, you know, obviously I've learned from my side. I think from your side, that's just something that we can definitely probably speak up on just a little bit more, so we can manage that a bit better. And obviously, you know, just make sure we are fresh and not just kind of digging, because we have that mindset of digging.
Yeah, I agree. Like I remember just like even just like I walked to the shops the other day, right? And it's not even. I've spoken about this a few times now, but it's not even a hill, mate. It's like literally like the smallest little like it's like an incline, right? And I used to have to mentally prepare myself to walk up that every single day, and it's like I just walk up it now. It's nothing, but like literally even having to like, you know, get down to the bottom of the hill, it's like, here we go. But I used to say to myself like, oh, this is what it takes, you know. But really, like I probably didn't have to really, you know, be in that position. But there's so much learned and gained from it, mate, that like I'm just excited now for 2025, and it's going to be good. There's been a lot learned. I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm almost like I don't even regret like digging fucking hard, because it's like now I know where that is, and I've got that kind of perspective, and I know where to push close to that edge, and then like, you know, how much to actually leave in the tank almost to, you know, get into like ridiculous condition, but at the same time not push it over the cliff, you know.
I think as well is with with your physique, I've said this to you before, is like you're a lot more impressive in person than you are in photos, and you're also a lot leaner in person than you do come across in photos. So me now being able to correlate that with your photos and understand where you truly are in terms of condition, and be able to correlate with, I know this on the screen, I know this is what this looks like in person now. Whereas before, it would be a case of I would just have the photos to go off. And if they weren't looking super crisp, super clean, then I would think, okay, we need to dig for that to get that, you know, super crisp, super clean. But I understand now that I can correlate the look on the screen and understand what that would look like in person on you as well.
So I'm pretty much like a reverse catfish.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's better to be that way, though. It's better to be that way.
I'd prefer to, yeah, I'd prefer to look smaller on Instagram and bigger in person. That's always good.
Yeah.
So
the surprise package, mate.
mate, literally. When is for you then competitive goals moving forward? Because do you see yourself now more as an athlete or more as a coach?
It depends what mode. Like, it depends what mode I'm in. Post prep for me last year, because obviously, as I was mentioning like before, post prep, it's a case of, you know, all your kind of anabolics come out, you're just back down to that kind of baseline. You're not necessarily doing much with body weight. I was just completely focused on coaching. And at that moment in time, I was like, my focus here is coaching. I am a coach. My mindset was I am a coach kind of thing. And bodybuilding just happened in the background. But now the season's finished. Obviously moving into my off season. I'm not having necessarily check-ins come through daily from clients. I don't have that kind of most of my clients here in the off season, and coaching it's not easy, but it's nowhere near as demanding as prep. You can almost switch that athlete mode back on. So I think it depends as to what's going on at that moment in time. But I like to try and keep that 50-50 balance, because I think from a client perspective, it's important, especially for my clients and the way they look at me, to lead the way and be that athlete to they can kind of draw inspiration from, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And
with that in mind, do you feel like you ever put on a more of a bodybuilding persona than what you actually are, or are you 100% a bodybuilder?
Oh yeah,
or do you have a secret life?
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I think that's the way that I come across on Instagram, because I'm generally quite a private person. I don't share too much of my personal life. So I think that's the persona that I give across on Instagram, that I am just this guy that just bodybuilds all day, just ticks his boxes, trains, eats, sleeps, all that kind of stuff. But for sure, I have that other side to me. And I think I was speaking about this to Ella actually the other day. She was like, when I first met you, I thought you were just quite boring. I thought you were going to be quite boring, just quite serious, all that kind of stuff. But no, for sure. That side of me is definitely there. But I think in terms of what I deliver on Instagram, it does fit where my mindset is at with bodybuilding, but that's not just me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I needed a pee. I missed a bit of the conversation there, so you boys might have to.
Did you just go for a pee?
Yeah, I did.
That was the quickest.
Mate, efficiency, time efficiency. I ain't got time to waste. I haven't washed my hands.
Oh,
I haven't washed my hands though, so mate, who washes their hands, mate? Time efficiency. Come on, we've got stuff to do.
I'm not going to mention this person's name, but I went to a urinal with an individual a few months back, and they left without washing their hands. And I was like, "Oh, how come you didn't wash your hands?" It's like, "Oh, well, if I wash my hands, it's like admitting that I've got a dirty penis." It's like, "Oh, God." Oh, God.
Mine's dirty, and I still don't wash my hands, mate. Fuck's sake. What was you boys talking about? What did I miss?
Just whether Lewis has a secret life away from bodybuilding, and it turns out he does.
I do.
You both like football. Big football fans.
Yes, we do.
You a Liverpool fan as well?
Absolutely not, mate.
Oh.
Absolutely not.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I am the arch enemy, mate.
Man United.
Yes.
Man United is the arch enemy of Liverpool, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
for sure. My whole family supports Liverpool.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, apart from me and my little brother who support United.
That's embarrassing.
How did that happen?
Terrible,
then?
Isn't it? I know.
Yeah.
So my granddad supports Liverpool. My granddad on my mum's side supports Liverpool. My dad supports United. So I followed my dad, whereas the rest of my family followed my granddad.
Such a daddy's boy, aren't you?
Convinced my little brother.
Yeah. Right. And Josh, how did you start supporting Liverpool?
Just my whole family support Liverpool, but my little brother supports Chelsea because he just liked to wind us up whenever Liverpool were on. And the year that Steven Gerrard slipped over and gave it to Demba Ba, he became a Chelsea fan. Yeah, good times. Good times.
Yeah. Tom, if you had to support someone, who would you support?
Liverpool.
Oh man,
that's it. I'm off the team now.
Brother.
I'm off the team. Next time we compete, I'm going to be wondering why he's sending through just shit for my peak, like my show peaks and whatnot. And it'll
We're
be
just
the
not going to
moment,
beat,
right?
mate.
Yeah.
We just stay depleted.
There's going to be zero fatigue management. It's just going to be more and more fatigue. If you think that you had bad edema this past season, get ready. You're not going to die.
Do you think either of you boys will ever go back to like playing football at all?
No.
I would
Retired.
love to. I would love to, but I mean, I'd just be too scared. I'd be too scared to run.
Mate. Right. So I've been playing a little bit of, beach football out here on holiday. And, I'm 26. And yeah, all right. The average age of the people playing was around 12. But I can't keep up. I scored 2 worldies that I was dead proud of, but yeah, I can't move. My agility shit. All right, yeah, shot power's like through the roof, but other than that, I can't do anything. It'd be a waste of time me going back to football.
Yeah, I just literally have to stay in the middle of the pitch and just pivot. That's all I could do.
Yeah, but I couldn't even pivot. It was like I'm going to pick a direction and just face in that direction.
To be fair, I played beach volleyball in Jamaica, and oh my god, like there was a couple of balls I dived for, and I just hit the ground so hard.
Coconuts were falling out the trees.
Yeah.
Mini tsunami.
Bodybuilding honestly does. Bodybuilding does make you like useless, just immobile, and yeah, it's just not. It's not good for like athleticism at all, is it?
No. I want to do like water skiing here, and there's a guy that like teaches people how to water ski, and he like just put his hands on me, and he was like, maybe too heavy. I was like, all right, okay. I only competed a month ago.
We were going to go horse riding, and I was like, okay, before we book this, there has to be a weight limit.
Poor horse.
Yeah. And I think the weight limit. Yeah, the weight limit was like 220 pounds, and I'm like 230, and they was like, "It'll be fine." I'm like, "No, I don't want to do that to the poor horse." Fuck that.
Fuck that. Imagine
you got horses bigger legs than the horse.
I know.
Put the horse on your back, Lewis.
Yeah,
a few walking lunges with a horse. Down.
Take the horse for a ride, mate.
Yeah.
How was Jamaica, Lewis, mate? Obviously, that was like your first big bit of like switch off time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, mate. It was really good, to be fair. Only thing that I could have wished for was slightly more sun. Like, it was still warm, but it was just quite cloudy.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, it was just what we needed. Obviously, we went to Mexico last year, but that was for like 8 days. Jamaica this year was for 11. So yeah, it was real good, man. Really good. The only downside is the travel. Like, it just absolutely kills you. But yeah, apart from that, mate, it's beautiful. Definitely recommend.
How long are flights to Jamaica?
So the flight isn't too bad. The flight's like 9 hours, 9.5 hours. But the killer was we flew overnight on the way back. Had to wait like an hour and a half for our luggage when we got off the plane. And then I had to get a 3.5 hour train back from Gatwick to Cov. Yeah, it was just brutal. Like when you've flown overnight and you have to then try and stay up the whole day because you're like, otherwise my sleep schedule is just going to be all over the place, completely all over the place. So trying to stay awake after all that travel, yeah, pretty grim. But
when I came back from Houston last year, I didn't sleep on the flight, and it was a night flight, and I had to drive from Heathrow up to Sheffield, and it was like 4 hours. And I honestly, like, every 2 seconds, my head were nodding. I was virtually counting down the minutes on the sat nav, and whenever it were going up because of traffic, I was like, "Oh God, I hate this."
It's so triggering when you're driving and the time it goes up. It goes up. Yeah.
We're even more triggering that Sam and Annabella were both fast asleep, and I was on my ones, just fighting the temptation to drive into the central reservation.
You've got to have someone that stays awake with you. I couldn't sleep in the car when I know that the person driving is also tired. I couldn't rest my mind. I'm like, I've
No,
got to be
that's
there
true.
ready to grab the steering wheel for like when that person starts
Yeah.
to, nod off.
This is why
They've
you're
got the
going to heaven,
ultimate
mate.
trust in Josh.
You know what, mate?
They've got the ultimate trust in you, mate.
Yeah. It's a compliment, really.
It is.
Yeah.
Did you train as well when you were in Jamaica? Did you train at all?
So I took like the first 3 days off, and then after that, I was like, I want to train, so I'll train. So I literally just did. I just went in. I just did whatever I wanted. Like I had a day where I just did arms. Had a day where I just did delts. Didn't do any leg work because I wanted to rehab my knee. But yeah, apart from that, mate, it was just like the guys in the gym, the Jamaican lads in there. They were just like asking me so many questions. They were just like amazed.
So
What did you
I'm
carry
in,
on, Josh?
I'm in Mauritius, and the people are naturally obviously quite skinny, and this guy came up to me the other day, and he was like, "So you train?" I was like, "Yeah, I train. He's like, "Oh, what type? CrossFit?" I was like, "No, I do bodybuilding." He went, "Ah, I'm a bodybuilder." He did the some Wobber show in Mauritius like a month ago. It was like, yes. I came second, big show. And then he asked if I ever was like, oh, would you ever compete? I was like, yeah. I've done quite a few shows, to be fair. I started showing him, and he was like, oh my god. So whenever he sees me, he goes, hey champion, how are you? I'm like, oh, yeah. you know.
Some of the
It's
nicknames you pick up when you go abroad is just hilarious. Like I've been called John Cena, like Johnny Bravo.
I can
Rocky.
see John Cena.
John Cena, 100%.
I think I'm going to call you John Cena now. Joan Cena.
Let it catch on, mate.
Yeah, Lewis
John
Jones
Cena.
Cena. Love it, Josh. Have you trained much out there?
I did. I'm going to do like 2 days on, 1 day off. Push pull. The gym's
Easy.
not. It's not fantastic. It's not terrible. It's just a load of machines which are not heavy enough.
Like, mate, I feel like a lot of people just like stress out when they go on holiday.
The heaviest machine is 35 kilos.
Wow.
So like a lat pull down, 35 kilos.
What?
Wow.
A seated row, a chest press.
I might have to
Honestly,
do CrossFit, mate. I might have to do CrossFit.
yeah, I might have to.
Do you just, when someone asks you now, like on holiday, if like, oh, you're into like you're training like bodybuilding, like, no, just be like, no, I'm not. Like, I've never touched a weight in my entire life, and just see what they say. Nothing.
Just steroids. That's it.
Yeah. Just steroids, nothing else.
Annabella told some bloke earlier that I'm a PT. She's obviously embarrassed to say that I'm an online coach. And this guy, don't know what he does for a job, but he's quite wealthy. Just turned around and said, "Yep, that's not a good line of work to be in." Okay. Fitness
Why?
industry, not good.
Why'd you say-
Okay, thanks.
Why
Because
did he
AI
say
is going to
that?
replace us all, mate.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, I has no fucking clue what he's talking about.
No. I bet he was like fat and out of shape as well, wasn't he?
Relatively chunky. Not that fat.
Got you. Am I even allowed to say that word anymore? I don't know, but there we go.
No, you can't. You're going to get cancelled, Tom. 21st century.
Little bit of like on the holiday, like the topic of holidays. What do you boys do for like your nutrition when you're away as well? Like, do you just chill out? Do you like enjoy yourself? Do you still have some kind of structure?
I mean, for me, especially in Jamaica this year, it was a case of trying to eat enough.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, especially when like obviously if you're all inclusive, you generally have like the 3 meals a day, don't you? Like breakfast, dinner, lunch. And so literally just trying to eat as much as I could because like I generally I'm eating like 4K, 4.5K even on a rest day. So it's like I need to eat, man. Like I need to eat. So I just try and eat. I just relax, eat as much as I can.
Yeah, I would
What about
agree.
you, Josh?
I think before I got here, I was like, I'm gonna, try and keep it relatively chilled, and I'll try and maintain my abs or whatever. But the food is so good, and like I can have steak whenever I want, and it's really, really, really good. Like I can have steak for breakfast, so I would feel a fool for not trying to maximize the high quality food, And if I gain a few kilos, I gain a few kilos. So what if I weighed 10 kilos heavier than what I did a month ago this morning? It's fine. It's fine.
I think you'd always prefer to come back heavier than lighter, in my opinion.
Definitely.
But it's not like you go on holiday to have that reset, to like come back mentally like I made the most of that and I enjoyed myself. Versus like if you come back and you're like kicking yourself because you just didn't switch off mentally, what's the point in going on fucking holiday? And it's like, what's like a week and a half or even max like 2 weeks out of the year? It's like, just from having that mental downtime, you're going to want to get back to it and you're going to want to smash it and you're going to make up for any lost time or gained weight anyway. So it's just like, I feel people definitely just need to chill out.
Something that I've noticed as well, like with my clients, when they've been away and they actually switch off, that like 4 weeks after, 6 weeks after, like a different person.
They come back so much more hungry from actually switching off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's what I've done this year with like my guys over like Christmas and whatnot is I've pretty much just say to them, look, just have a couple of days of like not being a bodybuilder. Just like remove like whether you're tracking or whether you've got like your set meal plan in place. Like if you want some structure, ultimately do what makes you happy. But a lot of them who did kind of just go in for a couple of days, just unstructured, enjoying the time with their friends and family and whatnot, like they should do. They come back now. It's like kickstarting the new year, and they're like, look, I'm just ready to go. Like I've actually missed the structure, and I know now they're going to double down. They're going to, make some decent progress now over the next few weeks.
I'd often do that when I deload or take some time off the gym. So I have like 4 or 5 days off because I've had a really productive period. I'll actually have 4 or 5 days off from bodybuilding in general. I'll still eat like 4 meals a day, maybe 5. It'll still be good food. I won't track it. I'll eat to my hunger. I'll eat to my appetite. And after that 4 or 5 days, my body weight's relatively the same. I'm a lot fresher mentally, physically. And then like I feel in such a better place to kick on after also having that mental break as well as that physical break.
100%. I agree, man. I like it. Right. Well, we're like an hour in, boys. So to be honest, I think we've extracted enough knowledge from Lewis. If you boys are happy
too
with
much. We'll be able to have Lewis on again in the future because I'm sure there's loads of things that we've not discussed.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, boys. Thank you very much.
And also, Josh is actually on holiday. Like, if people didn't realise, he's in Mauritius right now, living it up, enjoying himself. So we won't keep you too long from getting your steak in. But you did bring your mic, mate. Like, that is commitment to the pod. Do you know what? I've actually set it as a goal this year. 52 podcast episodes minimum.
I've set my target as obviously not to miss a single podcast and 75 videos on YouTube this year. And I've hired Sam for 3 videos a month as opposed to 2. So it's happening.
I like
Big
it.
year.
Lewis, what are your goals this year?
My goals this year, mate, are to just continue growing. Literally, obviously because I'm not competing this year, like coaching is everything. Bodybuilding can happen on like autopilot almost. So for me, mate, it's just about coaching, get myself out there, growing even more as a coach. I have some boys prepping this year that are assisted. So it'll be my first time putting some assisted clients on stage, which I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, just continue the growth, mate, in all aspects.
There you go.
We'll have to get me on a little sprinkle, a little special something for when we go against Josh. Yeah,
Tom, I've told you, you're not allowed to joke about it.
Oh, shit. Yeah, no,
Bob
WNBF, that was a joke.
The WNBF. Yes.
That was a
He's
joke.
Joking.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm innocent.
Confirmed.
I'm innocent. But anyway, I'm actually joking. We'll leave it there, boys. Thank you very much. Lewis, thank you for joining us. Josh, thank you for being here every single week like you are anyway.
Yeah, likewise, Tom.
And we'll take it there. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Thank you very much.